My goal is for everyone to walk away with at least one idea or tool you can use to improve your lives as caregivers and improve your caregiving. I don't want you to be overwhelmed because there's a lot here. You don't need to take pictures. You don't need to take notes because you can all watch it all later, reread it again. Now, this is what I came up with to help you all become better caregivers. Actually, this might be a good slogan and a funny song, but all of you who are caregivers probably know that it's not quite so simple. But it also doesn't have to be quite this complicated. So I'm going to give you the framework that we use to help caregivers and others build health and resilience. But first, I want to tell you about John and Mary. John and Mary married in 1969, and after raising 5 beautiful children, they retired from their university positions to enjoy the good life with their children, grandchildren, and friends. After 44 years of marriage, John noticed that Mary started forgetting things. Eventually, she forgot how to cook, how to drive a car, use her beloved computer. At one point, it took John 1 hour to convince Mary to take her 4 medications. John became increasingly exhausted. He was not getting any sleep. He became exhausted both physically and emotionally. How many here know the drill? Been there, done that? John finally realized he could not go on. He decided it was time to admit Mary to a care facility. He talked to his children, and some of his children said, yeah, of course, duh. Others of his children said, Dad, she's taken care of you all this time. Can't you take care of her? You can do this. It's not that bad. John did end up putting her in a care facility and visited her often, but it was painful for him to watch her continued decline. She could not use the toilet on her own or dress herself. After 3 years, Mary passed away. John was relieved that Mary was finally freed from the prison of her body. But he also was heartbroken that the woman of his dreams, who he had lost several years ago, was finally gone. He sank into a deep despair, depression. After about 6 months, John decided to rekindle a relationship with a childhood friend who had similarly lost her husband after caring for him for a period of time. John again consulted with his children. Some of his children said, Dad, what are you waiting for? Others said, Dad, how can you betray our mother and your wife? John listened to the first. He did remarry, and came back to life. I've met a lot of Johns and Marys in my work as a physician, and their story illustrates what I call the 10 pitfalls of caregivers. These are pitfalls. These aren't things we jump into. They're things that we fall into because what? We're not expecting them. We're not prepared for them. I'm going to show you the 10 pitfalls, and then I'm going to show you the pits that we land in when we slip and fall. The first is failing to recognize, ignoring, or hiding the problem. It's kind of obvious when you have a stroke or heart attack or something big, right? But when you have something that is so insidious and gradual, it's easy to make excuses. He's just getting older, right? Hiding the problem. It's embarrassing to have a spouse or parent who isn't with it anymore, unable to do the things that they used to be able to do. And it's a natural thing to want to hide that embarrassment, hide others from embarrassing them. Pride. I can do it. I can take care of her. She took care of me. Isolation. Who knows about isolation? 24/7 care. You don't have time. Friends or family. Guilt. Anybody have guilt? Dad, you can't betray our mother. Guilt comes from family members, friends. Guilt comes from yourself, doesn't it? Procrastinating assistance. Oh, we're not there yet. I can still do this. Self-neglect. You don't have time for yourself, do you? Saving the children's inheritance. We built up this beautiful nest egg for our children. I don't want to spend it on myself or on my loved one. We're trying to save it. Well, guess what? Your children didn't earn it. And they will do just fine without it, I assure you. Failing to plan for the future. When all you can think about is the next 24 hours, how on earth can you think about the future? But you have to, because this is an important pitfall. Focusing on what you don't want. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of fears that you will have as caregivers. What about this? What about that? What if I get sick? Then who's going to take care of me? And who's going to take care of her or him? Dwelling on the past. Who doesn't do this? Thinking about the good old days, wishing you could bring it back. Here are the pits that we fall into, that we land in when we fall in these. We make bad decisions. Do you think we make good decisions when we're guilted by ourselves or others? Or when we're exhausted, haven't had any sleep? Do we regret things that we did or didn't do? Our loved one, in the end, doesn't necessarily get the care that he or she needs and deserves when we are burned out. Sleeplessness, exhaustion, burnout, resentment. Is it possible to resent the one you love? Yeah, it's possible to do anything when you're exhausted and you can't think straight. And to resent perhaps children or siblings if you are a caregiver of a parent and the other kids live out of town and they don't want to help, or they live in town and they don't want to help. Depression, ill health, and early death. So this is the framework we use to help caregivers and others build health and resilience. Starting with a healthy mindset, followed by healthy lifestyle, giving the body what it needs but is lacking, removing from the body what does not belong there, and using a variety of tools to help the body heal itself. Starting with healthy mindset. Now, I live in Moab. I live half the week in Moab and half the week in Springville. And because I live in Moab, I get to do one of my favorite pastimes, other than watching people get better, is ride mountain bikes. And two of my favorite trails are Killer Bee and Captain Ahab. As you can see from these signs, these trails require a little bit of technical skill to avoid certain perils. On the left is a little segment of Killer Bee, and on the right is a segment of Captain Ahab. Those are actually bike trails, believe it or not. So now if you look on the left here on Killer Bee, there are some rocks here that you might not want to crash into. And there's a little cliff here that you might not want to go off. And then there's rocks right on the trail that you have to have some fun with. And then here on Captain Ahab, there's this slab that you have to kind of jump off, and then you have to jump off another slab. And then you just gonna have to slither around this corner and not go off that 200-foot cliff at high speed. So one of the skills in mountain biking is called finding your line. So you look at where you want to go and you point your front tire where you want to go. What happens if I focus on that cliff? I'm going off that cliff. Wait, I don't want to go. Okay, so we want to focus on what you want. Don't focus on what you don't want. As an illustration of this, there was a certain event 4 years ago in which people were paranoid out of their minds. I don't want to get what? COVID. And we had people walking huge circles around other people to avoid breathing their air. Let's focus on what we want. We want health. Let's not focus on disease. Next, guilt leads to irrational decisions. If we focus on loss, we will become clinically depressed. Of course, we have to grieve, right? Everyone has to grieve, but we can't sidestep this. There's no bypassing it. But there's a fine line between grieving and depression. And that line, we can avoid that cliff by focusing on what we have more than on what we don't have, and on the good memories that we have, the good times that we've had. We have to think about and prepare for the future. There will be a time, it may seem callous, but we have to think about when our loved one is no longer with us. What are we going to do? What happens when the well-wishers all go back to their daily lives and you are all alone? Are you going to go home, lay on your bed and cry for 6 months? This is true. I see it. You can't afford that. You have to think about what you're going to do after the funeral is over. Affirmation statements are powerful. They help you create your desired reality. And here I've included some information about affirmation statements to help you. Next, forgiveness. We've already heard about this today. Forgiveness is our only way to peace. Who do we have to forgive? Ourselves, our family members, our loved one, the whole world, everyone who has offended us in some way, including ourselves. So there's a powerful forgiveness exercise that I teach my patients to help them to lighten their burden. Next is vitamin G for gratitude. Gratitude is profoundly important. Gratitude leads to abundance because what we focus on enlarges. Gratitude has been scientifically proven to improve immunity, to reduce stress, to improve serotonin, to decrease blood pressure and increase how long you live. Here's a study demonstrating the cardiovascular benefits of gratitude. And seeing this car around town here in Utah County just warms my heart. The driver of this car is probably not without her challenges. Do you think? She probably has some hardship in life, but I'll bet that hardship is a lot lessened because she is thankful. Next is purpose. Purpose creates drive, energy, and longevity. The McKinsey Health Institute concluded that the number one most important determinant of health in adults over 50 is purpose in life. In fact, this is so important that if you have a strong sense of purpose in life, your risk of dying as an older person in the next 8 years is 15%. If you have no purpose, your risk of dying is 36%. Is that profound? If that was a drug, if purpose was a drug, how many billions of dollars do you think that would make in a year? Don't bury your purpose with your loved one. Prepare in advance so that you have a new purpose to help someone make a difference in the world. One of my favorite people, after his wife passed away, he's 92 years old, he published a book. Another one of my favorite patients in his 80s is a psychotherapist who works full-time, and then in his spare time, he rides his bike and takes care of his orchard. We all need purpose. Next is healthy lifestyle. We have to eat real food. Now, we all hear about the one and only true diet upon the face of the whole earth, but there is no such thing. And I guarantee you that Adam and Eve did not count calories. The problem is that Adam and Eve also didn't have an abundance of food. They ate what they got. And they also didn't have trash that was marketed as food. Humans are the only species smart enough to be able to manufacture their own food and dumb enough to eat it. If you don't know what that ingredient is on the label, maybe look it up to see. Google that ingredient and then followed by risk and see what you can find out about it, because it might not be in your best interest to eat it. People are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. So I've included some basic principles because I believe more in principles than in dogma and in specific diets, because what the Eskimo eats is going to be different than the Hawaiian or the Iranian or whoever. Next, rest. Not now, wait till afterwards. When we do not get enough sleep, that impairs our immunity, that increases our risk of heart attack, stroke, cancer, pain, depression, anxiety, dementia. When we sleep, that's when our memories are solidified in our brains. We're all aware of the magic weight loss drugs. How about making sure we're getting quality sleep? When we do get unmedicated sleep, that improves productivity and improves immune function and memory and energy and mood, reduces stress and diabetes. So I've included a number of informational slides about how to improve your sleep because it is so critical to your health. Now, there are a number of causes of sleep that may require professional attention, and those should be evaluated rather than just going to the doctor and saying, I'm not sleeping, okay, here's this drug to knock you out, except that those knockout drugs do not improve brain waves, sleep restorative brain waves. So there are a number of other causes that need to be evaluated for impaired sleep. And then there are a number of tools that we use to help people sleep healthily. Next, move. I love to exercise, said no sane person ever. Have you noticed these people right here? They keep running and running, but they don't get anywhere. Now, I never thought I'd be the kind of person who'd wake up early in the morning and exercise, and I was right. I don't wake up at 5 in the morning to exercise. I wake up at 5 in the morning to go have fun with my friends in the cold, in the dark, because I love to ride my bike. Now, you may not love to ride your bike, and you may not love to go out in the dark and the cold, but you can find something to do that makes it fun to move your body. People over age 60 who participate in weekly balance and resistance training have a 34% reduction in falls. Remember, if that was a drug, that would be approved by the FDA immediately, and it would be raking in $10 million a year because it is so powerful. Leg power, how strong your legs are, determines your brain function. How do you like that? Multiple studies demonstrate that exercise alone can increase your life by 3 to 5 years. Now here's a graph of VO2 max. VO2 max is the ability of your cells to suck in oxygen and spit out energy. So the higher your VO2 max, the better off you are. So let's say, let's look at this right here. In order to run 10 miles an hour on flat ground, if we go across, that requires about a VO2 max of 55. And then if we want to just walk on flat ground, that requires a VO2 max of about 13 or so. Now, the importance of this graph is to show you that VO2 max, your fitness, decreases with age, no matter what you do. The question is, do you want to start on this line or do you want to start on that line? If you want, let's say, for example, let's say you're 50 years old and you want to be able to carry a 75-pound object upstairs when you're 80, then let's just carry this upward to 50. You need to be at least able to jog 6 miles an hour uphill. The point is, you might think, I'm fine now. I can do whatever I want. Add 20 or 30 years to your age, and you discover you might be in a wheelchair or shuffling. So you need to get up and move. If you want to be able to do the things you can do right now in 10, 20, 30 years. Now here's how we test VO2 max, but you don't have to test it to understand and benefit from that last graph. Just move. Now here is another graph, and the short answer of this graph is the stronger your hand grip, the less likely you are to get dementia. Who knew that? So this is a study that demonstrated that as we age, our immune system starts to not be quite so powerful. We are at greater risk of cancer and infections. But guess what? Physical activity reduces our rate of infections and cancer because it strengthens the immune system. Now, there are lots of things. The ideal would be that we would all go to get a personal trainer at a gym and be able to do exercises properly and have a nice, well-tailored exercise fitness program. Unfortunately, that may not be feasible for everyone, but there are a lot of things you can do at home. And you don't have to go outside in the cold like I do to have your fun. You can do several things in the comfort and privacy of your own home. And if you want to go the high-tech route, you can even do virtual reality nowadays, which makes it even more fun because you're not just staring at the wall. And it's even better because you don't even have to get dressed.
Reality mode to see your surroundings.
weights.
So easy. Really? Customizable workout with total control. Sweat to your favorite beats. Free today on the MetaQuest store.
So I don't have any stock in Meta, but the reason I show that to you is because using virtual reality, if that's your thing, can make it more fun than staring at the wall. You have lots of options, and you never have to leave your loved one's side if you are unable to or do not want to. Next, not only do we need aerobic fitness, but we also need to increase our muscle strength and balance. So I wanted to show you something that will become increasingly important to each of you, and that is the ability we take for granted when we're younger, running upstairs, running downstairs, going up curves and down curves. But when you're 80 and 90, that becomes a big deal. So one exercise you can do is called the step up. And you go like this and you try not to push off with your back foot. And go like that. And then, now for the real kicker, try to go down as slowly as you can without falling down. That's a real test of your strength. And then, when you get good at that, then you can add a little bit of weight to it and do the same thing. And then when you get really good at that, then right. Another thing you can do at home, and so you see you never have to leave your loved one's side to do that, do you? And then you can hang this up on your door jamb, and there's lots of things you can do with this. These are pictures of me before I shaved, just showing all the things you can do with a pull-up bar that costs $20. Next, manage your stress. It's not stress that kills us, is it? It's our response to stress. There are a number of things, several have been talked about in this conference, to help us manage our stress. There are a lot of things that you can do on your own at home. And then there are other things that require professional assistance. Next, prayer, meditation, profound benefits. Lots of studies demonstrate the benefits of prayer meditation to health. Next, sex, mind you, when it's appropriate and possible. But sex, surprising to many, has a lot of health benefits. For example, it reduces stroke and heart attack and depression and suicide and cancer, pain, improves mood, lowers risk of chronic disease, reduces dementia. How do you like that? They've actually studied this. Oh.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Reduces prostate cancer, increases testosterone. Next, give the body what it needs but is lacking. Unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, but in America today, the soil is so depleted of vitamins and minerals that you cannot eat enough spinach to get all the magnesium you need. And the same goes for all the other vitamins and minerals. So targeted supplementation can be very helpful. Now this, there's going to be a test on this afterwards. This is a depiction of energy production in the cell, in every cell, every living cell in your body. Now, I just want to point out these little green circles. Those green circles are vitamins and minerals that are required in order to create energy. So you can eat 5 trillion calories and have no energy if you don't have the right vitamins and minerals. Now, protein powder, protein drinks, protein bars, they're all the rage. Why do we need protein? Because as we age, we lose what? Muscle, and we lose it fast, especially if we don't use it. But it's being constantly recycled, and so we have to constantly add protein to our diet. Many experts recommend that you eat in grams the amount of protein equivalent to your weight in pounds, which is a lot of protein in case you didn't know, which means you're going to have to eat protein at every meal and a protein bar, shake, or some such. But buyer beware, because a lot of the proteins products that we have on the market are just pure poison. For example, high oleic sunflower oil, soybean oil, artificial flavors, sucralose, acesulfame potassium, carrageenan. Like, how many poisons can they put in one of these things? And you think you got a great deal because you got 25% off or something. I guess if you want to kill yourself off sooner, go for it. Now, I'm not I don't have any financial relationship with Just Ingredients, but I love Just Ingredients because of what it has. Just Ingredients. It does not have any poisons, and it tastes good and has a lot of protein. I'm sure there are others on the market, but this is one that we use. Next, optimize hormones. As we age, we lose hormones, unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, not just because of aging, but because of our lifestyles, our modern American lifestyle. Now, here are some of the key hormones that both men and women need. Testosterone is critical for human life and health. It has numerous benefits. You know, in common out in the world, we normally think of when we get diseases and dysfunction, we say, oh, I'm just getting older. But a lot of what we pass off as getting older is actually testosterone deficiency. Men and women both lose testosterone with age. Women is more abruptly in menopause, men more gradually. Again, for men, it's not because of age, it's because of certain things like stress, toxins, not enough sleep, and so forth. But it declines. Did you know 38% of men over 45 have testosterone less than half the lowest that it should ever get in America? The lower your testosterone, the worse you feel, and the more disease you have. Now, we've all been taught that estrogen is important, I think, for osteoporosis. How about testosterone? Critical for preventing osteoporosis. The lower your testosterone, the sooner you die. Replacing testosterone when it is low reduces your risk of heart attack, stroke, and death. Now, the problem is that we have lots of things that we do in our daily lives. Some of them we're aware of, some of them are being done to us that reduce our testosterone. And you can look at all of them in your later on. But wanted to draw your attention, there are some drugs that do that. For example, cholesterol drugs. And cholesterol drugs aren't only good for lowering testosterone, they also help reduce your erections if you're a man. So if you're having troubles with too many erections, be sure to take the highest dose of cholesterol medicine you can. Also, by definition, everyone who is on an opioid pain medicine will become testosterone deficient before very long. Next, estradiol. There are a lot of benefits of estradiol. We know about osteoporosis. How about dementia prevention? There are a lot of others. Progesterone is also important, helps with immune function, helps with sleep, can even improve sex drive, reduces breast cancer. How do you like that? Vitamin D, it's not a vitamin, it's a hormone, and it has profound effects on the immune system. Everyone's levels should be between 60 and 100, unless they have cancer, in which case it should be 80 to 100. But vitamin D deficiency is associated with just about every dang disease on the planet, every degenerative disease. Next, melatonin. We think of that as the sleep hormone, but really melatonin is a powerful antioxidant. It reduces cancer. In fact, it's been demonstrated to be just as effective as chemotherapy. Not that we would use it by itself, but you'll never hear about it from your oncologist because what? It costs pennies compared to chemotherapy. But melatonin has profound benefits. I take 60 milligrams every night. People say, oh, you shouldn't take more than 1 milligram. Yeah, well, when we treat someone with cancer, they take 240, and it does not knock them out because it sensitizes the brain to darkness. It is not a knockout drug. Okay, thyroid hormone, critical to measure your thyroid hormones. Cortisol is the bad hormone, right? It makes us fat and ugly and have all kinds of problems. But without cortisol, you and I die within 3 days. But if we don't have enough cortisol, we will be alive, but not living. Cortisol gives us our energy. It also gives us our ability to manage stress. Who here has any stress? Hardly any hands go up. No. We have to have cortisol to help us deal with stress. It is also important for immune function. If you don't have enough cortisol, you cannot fight infection. DHEA, another important adrenal hormone. The lower your DHEA, the sooner you die. Next, remove what does not belong in the body. Toxic thinking. There's probably nobody in this room who has ever thought, I'm not good enough. Right? I'm not worthy. I don't deserve happiness. We have to get rid of that. We need to forgive ourselves and others. Infections. There are a number of infections that cause or contribute to neurodegenerative disease like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's that cause mitochondrial damage, which means suck the life out of us, take away our energy. Root canals are by definition infected always, and they've been proven to cause heart attacks, breast cancer, diabetes, autoimmune disease, and many other conditions. This is a report of the microorganisms, bacteria, parasite, viruses, yeast, that were in my jawbone when my root canal teeth were removed. Those were what was living in my jawbone. You don't want those in your mouth. This is part of a test report of advanced stool studies so that we can learn what good bugs you have that you need in your intestines, what bad bugs you may have that don't belong there, how your digestion is working, your absorption, if you have any gut immune function deficiency, if you have gut inflammation, gluten sensitivity, or leaky gut. Next is toxins. We have to get rid of toxins. Toxins impair that energy production in the cell. They also directly cause cell death. They weaken the immune system. You can have all the hormones in the world in your body, but if you have too many toxins, you won't feel like you have any hormones. And did you know that toxins cause your body to accumulate fat, to surround the toxins, to protect your body from those toxins? So if you've ever heard of somebody going on a diet and losing weight, and then they stop the diet and they gain it back, one reason is because they haven't got rid of their toxins, because their body says, I'm not having this. I'm going to reaccumulate those toxins to protect myself. I'm going to stash them away in cold storage. Toxins also cause cancer. Heavy metals, everyone has heavy metals, some more than others. Some are more affected than others. Heavy metals cause Alzheimer's. They cause heart disease. They damage our kidneys, our brains, they cause cancers of various kinds. Here are, back to this, all these red circles are the heavy metals that damage energy production in your cells, every cell in your body. This is a report, a heavy metal report of what came out of somebody's body when we did a chelation. The 5 big ones that we're concerned about that so many of us have but don't realize it are lead, arsenic, cadmium, aluminum, and mercury. And you don't know you have them until you test. Other toxins that are very damaging are mold, cleaning chemicals, flame retardants on furniture, and a lot of the things that we put on our skin. Here's a toxin test. Alcohol, tobacco, and many other toxins. Next, finally, tools. In conventional medicine, we use all kinds of tools that block natural processes. Now, drug, surgery, and radiation can be life-saving, and when we need them, we need them. But they always come with a price. In functional medicine, we use a variety of tools that work with the body, that stimulate natural processes, that help the body do what it wants to do, but is currently unable to do. If your doctor isn't helping you prevent disease and build health, give yourself permission to find one who will. You can't afford to be living your life just focusing on everything that's abnormal. Oh, I have this ache or pain, I go see my doctor. I have heart disease, I go see my doctor. How about going to see your doctor to build health? How we do that is we start by testing the right tests. Have you ever been to a doctor and said, "Doc, I've got such and such a problem," and he runs some tests and then he says, "Your labs are normal. There's nothing wrong with you." Do you feel like wringing his neck and saying, there is something wrong with me, that's why I came to you in the first place? The problem in America is that normal means we're dying of heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis. Who in here wants to be normal? Who in here wants to be healthy? Agreed. So we need to replace normal with healthy. Now, what does this mean? In testosterone, for example, a normal lab will report testosterone levels between 250 down here and 827, call them normal. And so if your level is 251, guess what? You're normal, there's nothing wrong with you. This is based on statistics. This is the average, and then here's 2 standard deviations from the mean. So these guys have not enough, and these guys have too much. Do you think the body read the statistics manual? I don't either. And if you have over 827, they will tell you, you've got too much. What are they going to do, siphon it off? Cut off the testes or the ovaries? Okay. Guess what? Studies show that optimal is between 700 and 1200. So if you actually have an optimal testosterone level, then a normal lab will tell you you've got too much. Let's talk about cholesterol. What should our cholesterol be? Less than 200. You got the memo. But here's the studies. If your cholesterol is between 200 and 240, 250, you have the lowest risk of death. If your cholesterol is 300, your risk of death is lower than someone whose cholesterol is less than 150. When I left medical school, I really prided myself on getting my patients' cholesterol down into the ground, because cholesterol is that bad enemy that's killing everybody, until I learned about cholesterol. So you need to test what we call foundational labs that we test on every patient. You want to know what your levels of all of these things are, because all these things have to do with how you function and your risks of disease. And in other circumstances, you will want to test some additional labs. If you have any depression or anxiety, history of cancer, if you've gotten the COVID shot, if you have any unexplained or unresolved symptoms, or if you simply want to prevent disease and build health. You can take specific supplements if you want to reduce your risk of getting sick. Vitamin D, you want to make sure your level is between 60 and 100. Vitamin C, selenium, N-acetylcysteine, high-dose melatonin, colostrum, and since we are in the doTERRA building, essential oils can have profound effects on health. I think I'm not an expert in essential oils, but word has it that On Guard is really great for helping immune function. Incidentally, all of these are found in a variety of the COVID protocols that doctors like myself have been using for the last 4 years. Now, if you get exposed to someone who's sick, there's other things you can do, and this is not an exhaustive list, but we use our Gen 23, ivermectin, bamboo extract, and iodine. Obviously, we want to enhance your energy production, like by doing all the things that we've talked about. We want to avoid sugar. We want to avoid sugar, which paralyzes white blood cells for 6 hours. Also, we want to avoid any medical treatment that has toxins in it or that shifts your immune function away from cellular, your more powerful immune function, to humoral immunity, weakening your ability to fight off infections and cancer. And then fear. We cannot afford to fear because it also weakens the immune system. Be careful with prescription and over-the-counter medicines. Our prescription drugs are the 3rd leading cause of death after heart disease and cancer, amounting to an estimated 100,000 deaths per year in America, not from drugs taken in overdose or accident, but drugs taken as prescribed. Now, by now you're thinking, yeah, he gave me this lecture. It's way too complicated. But if you think of that framework that you all have on that little card, just think of the foundations, the 5 foundations. That's what we walk patients through in the office, is how to do all those things to enhance their health. Finally, get help with caregiving early. Get a few hours a day or a week, whatever you need to get out, to go for a walk, to go shopping, to go to your own doctor. Learn to love yourself. Pick your line. Don't worry about the cliff on the right side or the rocks on the left side. Pick your line and focus on it like a laser. You know, John did the best he could with what he had, but he suffered way too much. Now, with the knowledge that and the tools that each of you have, you can do much better. And I thank you for your participation.